Hey everybody, so today we're mainly just going to be talking about the new Macs that have been coming out. So there's a bunch of new ones. They're all MacBooks except one Mac Mini. And there's two versions. There's a MacBook Air and then there's a MacBook 13-inch. The design side you might see might be the same. We'll go over that in just a little bit, but I just kind of want to talk about what's going on really, why they're actually new, and what's kind of different about the old MacBooks. So for a very long time, they have been using Intel chips. Intel have been a very big provider of almost all laptop makers for a very, very long time now. They've been making chips for their MacBook lines and of course for Windows lines and all different types. They're probably one of the most well-known names for actually processors in the market today. And now we're actually going to see a shift more going towards focus towards ARM chip. You see ARM processors that are in iPhones, and you see them in Android phones, and most mobile devices, and most tablets. Most, if not all of them, actually have some type of ARM chip in them. It mostly focuses on efficiency, for battery life, and it usually doesn't require a fan, just like your phone. In this case, Apple's actually going to be using something called the M1 chip, and that's going to be in their MacBook Air and MacBook Pro models. So let's dive into it real quick. Actually, let's go look at the lineup and let's go see just exactly what they kind of released and kind of what they're really going at. This is what it comes up. Let's go to the Apple website. We're here and we want to go take a look at the new MacBook. So you can see there's a new MacBook Pro and then there's a new Air. And you can see it talks about the future of Mac and it shows the M1 chip. That's the first thing that comes up. You can see the price, about $999 for the base model MacBook Air, and then about $12.99 for the base model 13-inch, and $6.99 for the Mac Mini. So they actually are still selling the Intel ones. Here's a 16-inch. We didn't get a 16-inch in this presentation, probably because we just got the 16-inch recently. So let's go take a look at the actual MacBook Air. So let's go click it real quick. And they're claiming that CPU speeds up to 5 times faster, GPU speeds up to 5 times faster, neural engine. This one, I do know this M1 chip actually does have 8 cores, and it has 4 smaller cores that are more for like efficiencies, and they're more for power efficiency if you're not doing as much work and you're not doing like photo editing and those type of things, like photo editing and video editing. And then it uses those bigger cores when you do those other types of things that are more intensive work. So it's just like the phone. The phone works the same exact way. A lot of ARM chips do. It just makes it a more efficient time to use it, especially when you're like scrolling through like an app or something like that on your phone. So it talks about here the 8-core GPU, 18 hours of battery life. The actual Air itself does not have a fan. The Pro model supposedly does, but we'll look at the Pro model in just a little bit. So it is a fanless design, at least the Air. Now the interesting thing is though, for both of these, they're both M1 chip in the Pro model and in the Air model. And let's scroll a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's about the same here. So let's go back into, I'm going to go into Big Sur a little bit too, but let's go back into the Pro model and see. An M1 chip, okay, it's the same thing, but there is a fan in this one. And the idea is though it's supposed to be a little bit better performing, and I believe that it is mainly because of the actual fan itself. Whenever it starts to throttle a little bit, the fan should kick in and actually give it more performance. It's interesting that they call it the Pro model and they charge $300 more premium on it. I know you can get a little bit more storage space on it, but they both have 2 USB-C ports, which is interesting. The Pro has a bigger battery. The Air is just, I guess, more of a smaller footprint, so they don't need to do as much. But here's the thing I really want to talk about too, and this is going to be the most interesting thing, and the reason why I'm actually making this video in the first place is because of this. So they actually had to make Big Sur in a way focused on the big compatibility of it working on an ARM chip. You can get all the apps that you have from the App Store. They're all going to work. They should work exactly how they should on your phone and on your tablet. They should work exactly the same way. So that should be a very seamless experience. If you have a lot of stuff that you use through the App Store, you should be using all the apps from there on your MacBook Air or MacBook Pro. If you read it here, it says all your existing apps will work thanks to Rosetta 2. Rosetta 2 is going to be basically a way for, the best way to put it is, Rosetta is basically going to translate, quote unquote, translate the apps so they can work from the Intel chips to the ARM chips. The developers of the apps that you currently use, like Final Cut Pro, Adobe Suite, and all those things are going to have to make native apps that work for the ARM processors. As for now, it's going to be really interesting to see on the compatibility and how things that people use outside of the App Store work. So you're asking yourself, what does this really have to do with me? I use the App Store stuff all the time. I don't really use I don't download stuff from the internet. I might use some professional things, maybe Photoshop every now and then, but the iPad version works just as well for me. That might be good for the short term, but it's going to be interesting for the long term how all the apps are going to actually be translated over into this new Mac OS Big Sur. All this is going to be on Big Sur, so all the apps are going to work on there for the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air that are going to come out, and of course the Mac Mini. We don't want to forget about the Mini. It's going to be interesting to see down the line on how this move is going to change how ARM works in general. Most of the app developers make apps for x86, which is Intel and AMD. You don't really see a lot of professional apps being used in the ARM space, which is like for your cell phone and for your tablet and stuff like that. So maybe that is kind of the reason that they've been pushing making real advanced tablets like the iPad Pro. Maybe this is the whole part of their big move is to make one OS. Maybe this is a big move to actually push everything into ARM. If they make it for ARM, then you might see some apps being developed, some professional apps being developed for Android as well. So it's not only going to affect Apple users, it might affect the whole space in general, and to see how maybe even we will make laptops in the future just based on ARM chips. ARM chips are very good for battery life and they're much more efficient, but the only reason why, if you even see there's a Surface X, I believe it's called, it's ARM based. It's very similar now that it's ARM based. And the big problem with that was when it releases, you can't really load any apps outside the Windows Store. Now the Windows Store isn't quite as big as the App Store, obviously, and there's not as many cool as interesting apps. It's very locked down to Windows, the developer stuff, and just whatever's developed on the Windows Store. But just think of everything being written for ARM, which would mean all applications, maybe even games down the line. Maybe everything will be just converted over to that eventually. Apple has a lot of pull and they have a lot of influence, and I would love to actually see them get developers to actually write programs for the ARM base, because that's not going to just affect all the iOS users, it's going to affect Android users and just maybe even in general. I'm really interested in it. Well, what do you guys think down below? Are you guys interested in getting the MacBook Pro, or would you still buy an Intel MacBook after having this announcement? What do you guys really think of the move? Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. You found this very informative. Please let me know what you guys think about this whole move with the ARM architecture. Any links we have in the description, we might have some parts or anything like that. You can always check our description for the contact information if you want to send in for repair. We do a lot of data recoveries, liquid spills, and those type of things. Any equipment we use, we'll try to link that as well down in the description. You can always check that out. Any other parts that we may have, it helps us a lot if you click on any of those links. We really do appreciate that. Always hit the notification bell icon too if you can, so you can know when we upload a video that's coming out right away. If you do that, actually, it really helps. It's the best way to know when we upload and everything. So if you hit that notification bell, it really does help us a lot. Subscribe for more content. We will be trying to push as more as we possibly can. I always want to keep you guys updated on news and any other repairs that we do. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoy. Bye.